David Bailey runs a 12-person league with 6 real-life couples. The trash talk gets pretty intense in that one. The cast of the Broadway play Rock of Ages has a league, as does Petty Officer Second Class Dick Shane Fawcett and the squadron above the USS George H.W. Bush. Jay-Z plays in a high-stakes league with music producers, record execs, and the people who run the 40/40 Club. In fact, many celebrities play. Saturday Night Live's Seth Meyers is a longtime player, as are actors Paul Rudd, Jason Bateman, Ashton Kutcher, and Elizabeth Banks. Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter himself, once told my podcast audience that Anquan Boldin was his fantasy Voldemort. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the pit crew guys at Hendrick Motorsports have a league, and there are tons of high-stakes Wall Street leagues. Priests, rabbis, and ministers sounds like the start of a joke, but it's actually 3 different fantasy leagues I know of. The best part of fantasy is that it gives people who would normally not have a reason to interact an excuse to talk. From the CEO and mailroom guys to long-lost cousins to everyone in between, they all have one thing in common. Fantasy brings them together, and it keeps them together too. That feeling of belonging is certainly what drew me to the game. From the time I was born in Denver to when we moved to Richmond, then Atlanta, then Charlottesville, Virginia, and finally to College Station, Texas, I had moved around a lot as a child by age 12. My big frizzy hair didn't help, nor did always being the new kid. Add thick glasses, I'm nearly blind without contacts, plus a general sense of being socially awkward, and the prom king I wasn't. Now, College Station is known for a lot of things. Texas A&M University, where my father is a professor, is the big one. The George Bush Presidential Library, its sister city of Bryan, Texas, and the fact that singer Lyle Lovett got his start there all make the Wikipedia page. But among the things College Station is not known for, Jewish kids. Only a few handfuls of them lived there, so that was yet another thing that made me feel different when I arrived. For as long as I live, I'll never forget one of my first days in Texas. I was sitting at lunch with some classmates, including a girl I had just met. It was Passover week, and I mentioned that the odd bread I was eating was called matzah, and that I was Jewish. What? She says, what? I'm like, you're staring at me. She says, I'm trying to see your horns. Horns? She says, yeah, my dad says all Jewish people have them. Half the table nodded. True story. Welcome to Texas, Barry. So as a bit of an outcast, perhaps it was only natural that I would be drawn to a brand new, niche game like fantasy baseball, and that I was so willing to try something, anything, as long as it included me. It was early spring in 1985, and I was actually a high school tennis player. Yes, that's right. In football-loving Texas, I played tennis, a sport you play without teammates. Looking back, it's amazing I had any friends at all. I took tennis seriously, won some tournaments, ranked as a USTA junior in the state of Texas, went to the state finals in high school, etc. This is only important to our tale for this lone fact. As a result of being good at tennis, I took private tennis lessons. And that's only important because of the guy I took them from, the local tennis club pro, a man named Tommy V. Cannell. Or, as I prefer to call him, owner and general manager of the always plucky TV sets. I was walking up to see him one day for my lesson, and he was talking to his best friend, a guy I would later come to know as beloved Commissioner for Life Don Smith, owner of the Smith Arenes. They were talking in a strange language that felt newly familiar, and going through names of guys they could ask to join. What they were discussing would set my life on a course I'd never imagined. Are you guys talking about rotisserie league baseball? They were just as shocked that I knew what they were talking about as I was that anyone besides me read Rotisserie League Baseball, a weird little green book that had just been released detailing the rules, spirit, and advice about how to play the greatest game for baseball fans since baseball. Don, Tommy, and their friends were forming a league, and they needed a 10th guy who had both heard of this weird thing and was willing to try it. It was to be a National League-only fantasy baseball.